Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Literacy View. We are going to be talking about artificial intelligence tonight, and this is a global issue, and we have a very special guest all the way from Eger, Hungary, and he's my friend, and I'm so proud to introduce Geoff Vaughan. Geoff and I met on Twitter, of all places, and we've been in contact for a long time. He is a lecturer in English, pedagogy, and ESL. He is a first-year doctoral student at Eszterházy University, and he has been teaching for 25 years, teaching English across most grades in the UK and internationally. And he is now studying digital pedagogy and the role of artificial intelligence for learning. And I thought he would be a wonderful person to have on as we discuss this article entitled, "Don't Ban Chat GPT in Schools, Teach with It." And it is by Kevin Roose. And this was a New York Times article that came out in the middle of January of this year. And this is a really hot topic, AI, artificial intelligence, and it scares many people. So I'm going to start off with a quote from the article and then turn it over to Geoff. And it says, "Cheating is the immediate practical fear, along with the bot's propensity to spit out wrong or misleading answers." So with artificial intelligence, we don't know if we could trust this, right? We don't know what we're going to get. So what are your thoughts, Geoff?
Well, thank you for that introduction, Faith, and I share my pleasure in having met you through social media, and now consider you a great friend. And I love what both of you are doing with this podcast. So it's an honor for me to be joining you and to talk about this. And as you sort of mentioned in my bio, my background is English teaching, so that's my thing. That's what I love. That's what I've been doing all my career, and now I've moved into the PhD world. One of the subject specialisms is digital pedagogy, and it's kind of landed at the time that AI and artificial intelligence and education have met. And you're quite right, that first concern is, from all educators, it's going to be used for cheating. That's what it's there for. It will be a quick way of cheating the system. And that is, from everyone I talk to, their number one concern, as it was in the article with the teachers quoted. And I promise you, you can use it to cheat. No problem. No problem at all. You can put in your essay title that your college professor or your high school teacher middle school teacher has given you, and it will produce in seconds a pretty impressive, well-written answer. And you can copy it, put it into Word, put your name on it, and drop it into their inbox.
Unbelievable. It's so scary. I'm going to call in my co-host, Judy Boxner, now. So, Judy, you and I have been teaching a while, and I could tell you this really scares me. And as Geoff said, it produces some very well-written essays. So what are your thoughts about this?
So, the educator in me came out immediately as I was reading the article and looking at some things. I was like, okay, there's going to be pros, but there's also going to be cons. And right now, actually, I think my pro list is longer than my con list. So this is who I am as an educator. I'm always trying to see the bright side of how something can help. So some of the things I wrote, it can become an aid to classroom instruction, right? If a teacher has reading groups and there's some kids that are struggling, it's always a numbers game. Am I going to see them 5 times, 4 times? Maybe this way, you're seeing them 3 times, and then they can go on a, adaptive program a couple of times a week. So that could be helpful. Although, here's a con. Nobody can replace an excellent teacher, in my opinion. Nobody. But you know what's interesting, Faith? So I was just tutoring a kid this morning, and I was talking to this mom about it, and she's a Harvard grad along with her husband. And she was like, Judy, think about this. She said, I'm able to afford tutoring with you on Sunday mornings for enrichment. Think about all the kids that can't afford tutoring, and now they might have an adaptive tool online. You could be anywhere in the world, and there could be these tools that can help kids. So, a lot going through my mind.
So you just said something about it being a tool, and the article mentioned that. To be quite honest, I don't understand how it can be a tool. So Geoff, could you tell us how this can be a helpful tool for a teacher, a reading teacher, as Judy mentioned, possibly working in groups? I don't know if that's something that in Hungary they have small group instruction as much as we do, but tell us a little bit about that, because I don't know how I would use this tool, honestly.
Okay, so that was really well put, Judy, and it was kind of covering some of the things that, I've been really interested in about it. Obviously, it is a tool. All technology is a tool, and all technology has been a tool from the beginning of technology, from printing press to books to the computer, and now we've got artificial intelligence as a tool. There are a few problems around it. First of all, you got the problem of technology itself. So I know that there's a big problem with what is being used, what technology is in the classroom. And there's a big debate going on in many countries, many schools, about the use of the mobile phone and having the phone in the classroom. So you've got to factor that into it as well. So what device is a student going to be using? And then you've got to think about age appropriate use as well. But let's just sort of talk about a school that is using technology, probably tablet technology. And there is a school policy that technology devices are used in the classroom for learning appropriate times, and it's controlled, and everyone's happy about that, and it's working. Then you've got a tool in your hands that is, as Judy said, an adaptive tutoring support tool. And how would you use it? You would have a small group, and they would have Chat GPT as a program running on their tablet, and they would be able to ask questions. This is the key thing. It's a dialogic teaching and learning tool.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is really interesting because it actually, traditionally what's happened is a small group will go to another table, they'll be given a task to do, they will hopefully do it, but they're not really getting any other interaction apart from themselves on the group with the material. Here you've got something that is the most powerful technology that we've seen, and it has the ability to provide answers to questions. Now, if the teacher has set the task up well, and there's a very clear task that they're asking the students to use the technology tool for, it is incredibly powerful because the students are going to get back things from chatting with the artificial intelligence that are going to stimulate further discussion, further questions,
Mm.
further insights. However, there's a thing in AI and in Chat GPT that is the big buzzword, and really it's called guardrails. Guardrails. So really it's like safety features. So kids are kids, or teenagers are teenagers, or college students are college students. So the teacher can put together a really good prompt and ask the students to use this prompt to get some response. And unless they do what the teacher asks them to do, kids are going to ask something else.
Oh no.
And
Wow.
also, they need to then be aware that they have to be able to evaluate what the response is,
Mhm.
analyze the response.
So are you talking about for older kids? This is
So yeah, so this is what I was saying about age. It is very, very difficult to really say that this is appropriate for primary school years. I think you're looking at pupils who've moved into middle and high school, and then obviously college kids as well, that where you have a good policy of digital integration in the school, and there are clear guidelines about usage, then it's appropriate. But the guardrails is the big thing, because what AI is really misinterpreted as is intelligent, and it's not intelligent. It is just generating words based on the prompt that you've given it from the language model that it has. It doesn't know what it's talking about.
It sounds like it knows what it's talking about. Geoff, I think, I don't know if it was you or who it was, somebody wrote a description of the literacy view and it sounded brilliant. You know, I was reading it, I'm like, who the hell wrote this? This sounds incredible. It made it sound like Faith and I are like the most wonderful podcasters in the whole wide world.
well, then they are smart. So it is
smart.
yeah.
But it's just a predictive machine. So it's predicting, it's taking from its language model that has been really sort of put together by the technology company, OpenAI, and then it's just generating what is the most likely pairing of words that should come out. And it's an incredible computational feat.
So it's as good as the questions. That's what I'm getting from you.
Exactly.
That if somebody is skilled enough to ask the right questions, it's going to spit out a very powerful answer.
Exactly that. And one person that, this is taking off in terms of teacher training, in terms of professional development opportunities, webinars, etc. There's a really great guy out of Durham in the UK. He's called the AI Educator, and he's got a really lovely, very short way of sort of putting this. And he says that it's the prompting that is the thing, and the prompting allows for generation of better answers. And if you give it a good prompt with clear explanation, clear outcomes that you want, you're going to get results that are really impressive, really impressive. And I noticed on one of the posts, I think yesterday, they had a post about AI jobs of the future, jobs that will become of the future, and it was an artificial intelligence prompter as a job was high up the list. So, being able to ask the right questions is going to be a very significant part of education and teaching and training in the future.
Interesting. Judy, so in your coaching, if you got comfortable using a tool like this, could you see, now you work mostly in the primary grades.
Right now,
or
right now I'm
across
working
K to 5,
K to 5.
Okay, but listening to Geoff, he was talking about the student using Chat GPT. But what if the teacher was able to put the right questions in and maybe come up with decodable passages? Could you see something like that happening, coaching teachers with something like that? Just curious.
So I definitely could see value in it when you're even in a coaching cycle and maybe you're doing a debrief or doing the planning stages. That could be really helpful because maybe some of the questions that we're generating might be low inference questions, and maybe we could push it to the next level of being those higher order rigorous questions. I would definitely be curious. It would be kind of fun to use it with the teacher. I think it would also be really fun to use something like that. I know, Faith and I, we've seen a little Twitter storm since our last episode where we were debating, where we would, talking about skills, strategies, and comprehension. And I don't know if I was dreaming. I think I asked Chat GPT in my dream what Chat GPT's opinion on that was. And I think it might have spewed out a very interesting answer. Would it be able to, Geoff, tell us a little bit about what's going on online, like this whole debate between comprehension and strategy work and using both or one? Would it give me an answer, Geoff?
Yeah, of course. You've got some different things going on in the world of chat machines. So OpenAI released Chat GPT in November, and that was GPT 3.5. That was this general release.
Right.
And that's not taking live stuff from the internet. That is a data mining. It's taken everything that it can from the internet up to 2021. So,
Wow.
and then the programmers do their work on it and allow that to be used as the generative transformation into an answer. So where you've got a current debate or topic that has been live, like your comprehension and strategy skills debate, that was happening February 2022. So Chat GPT is not taking that information. It's not sucking that into its database. But if you open up your Microsoft browser, now that has got Bing, and Bing is Microsoft's Chat GPT browser, and that is taking from the internet. So so if you're going to go that way, you're getting sort of live data influencing an answer. So that might be the way to go to find out about how that is playing out. But if you were to just want to kind of interrogate the comprehension skills v strategies debate, you can put that into ChatGPT, and you're going to get the arguments for, against. You can ask it to refer to, key references, etc.
So the biggest thing I've also been seeing, we've spoken to a guy named Nate Joseph a lot, who we actually admire and adore. Would Chat GPT be able to look at research studies and meta-analysis reports and give us further information on that as well?
Yes, it will. It will give you responses to the prompt that you give it about that research. It will sometimes generate answers that are linked to research that just is either obsolete or doesn't really exist. So you have to be careful with research and what you're looking for.
I wanted to ask you about that because in this article, it says that these tools aren't reliably accurate, and it's relatively, easy to be led down the wrong path with it.
Yeah.
How inaccurate are the answers, or do we know at this point? I mean, is it mostly accurate? or does it have a lot of room for error? Would you know? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, there's something I'm really interested in, and it's something that I'm putting together we've created a very small AI lab. And now that sounds a bit,
Oh,
that
cool.
sounds, that sounds a little bit sort of back to the future, and I'm putting all the wires in the system. But in terms of a research lab, it's trying to bring together some expertise from different parts of the university and different parts of the country to sort of look into these questions and get some real data about just that sort of question, really, and to give it some validity and actually test that out. So in this short space of time of looking at it and studying it, I would say you've got to be very skeptical about what it's giving you in terms of research evidence and research references. I've certainly tried out a few things, and then you go to a research database just to check that paper, and there's no sign of it.
Right.
So
interesting.
You need high-level research analysis understanding to take what it's giving you and then verify it. And in the article, it said students are producing referenced academic papers handed in, which then their university tutor is checking, and they're not valid, and the student hasn't a clue.
Judy, in the article, it says that teachers are feeling a little bit threatened by this. And there was even a comment from a teacher that it said something like, I won't be needed anymore. So interesting. What's your perception of that? Do you think that this tool could make teachers feel a bit threatened, as if they're being replaced by technology? It is scary. I think it's scary.
So this whole concept of all of this is actually, like, when I was little, I was born in the 70s. There was actually a TV show. It was called The Jetsons. I don't know if any of you have ever seen The Jetsons. And it always showed like this robot in the house. Her name was like Rosie. And then I was like, I was living in the 90s, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? It doesn't feel like the space age. But now all of a sudden, 2023, there's something really crazy going on. But I think it's like anything else. We initially might have thought calculators are crazy, but now, kids use the calculator on the SAT. And I think that, the thought does go through my mind, because even on the Metro North, which I commute on every single day, there used to be a guy that would make all the announcements. Now that guy, they took him out of the station at the wealthiest in one of the wealthiest towns in America, and now I hear like a robot voice talking about when the train's coming and when the train's not coming. Also in New York City, if you go on the subway, you used to need a Metro card. Now you take your phone and you have this what's it called, Apple Pay, and it scans it. So it does feel like it's moving in that direction a little bit. And then in schools, and I don't know, Geoff, maybe you could tell me, I see this literacy program. It's called Amira, and I think it's in the early stages of using AI for reading instruction. And I've sat with some kids. They were kind of pissed off at the robot, because the robot didn't know that some of the kids didn't know how to read. So I had to call the company and say, can you take off the diagnostic, because this kid can't read. And he's talking to the robot. One of these kids was like, hey, what are you talking about? I can't read already. So, Geoff, does that tie in with Chat GPT? Because I do see these intuitive literacy things that are going on in the classroom. Yeah. We're like thinking, okay, maybe we're not good enough, or is this just a supplement? Is this the direction that we're going on in education as well? Am I going to be replaced?
Yeah, great question. Great question. I think it's the heart of the matter, Judy. Yes. I think this is the heart of the matter. It's a difficult answer. I haven't got the answer, but I've got some ways to think about the answer. It was very interesting you said that you're already seeing like a era which I hadn't heard of in the classroom and the children's reaction. And this is just exactly where I think we're currently at. I think I was thinking about it today. It's like the gold rush or the Wild West.
Yeah.
And we're hitching a ride out somewhere and finding out things as they happen. And that's a scary place to be for teachers and students and parents, I would add. It's sort of a very scary moment, and it's happening fast. With regards to sort of whether it can do this rather than a teacher, when I started looking at it back in November, December, it was the first thing that really came to my mind. Like, how can this be used? And could this be used instead of teachers? And I kind of didn't worry about that too much. But the pace that technology is moving at, I am considering myself a dinosaur already, and I feel like I've been on top of it for 2.5 months. But just last week, maybe within 10 days, Chat GPT 4 has been released. Now, this changes a lot, because what Chat GPT 3 did, 3.5 did, as we were talking about, it was really a to and fro dialogue, but you prompt it with a question, gives it a response. Prompt it with another question, gives it a response. Chat GPT 4 and that technology is far more like a responsive tutor. You're going to put in just real short things like, I don't understand this, and it provides a tutorial, links to a YouTube video, takes you to a text that is appropriate for that thing that you want to know about. It is multimodal, so image, video, and text. It is voice as well as text. GPT 3.5 is voice as well. You can activate the voice, but it is immersive like you've never seen before. I was watching and reading Khan Academy.
Yes.
I looked at Khan Academy. I hadn't looked at Khan Academy for quite a while, but their curriculum, they have a reading curriculum that starts in K2, I think, is their beginning point, and it goes all the way up to K12. And they have introduced and will be releasing on wide scale the Chat GPT 4 into Khan Academy, so that it is just responsive to the learner need. So you're following the K2 reading class and you don't understand the cat sat on the mat, what's a mat? And it will give you a tutorial on maths or whatever, So is that scary, or is that absolutely fascinating? Is the question, really. I think that some teachers will be very scared by this. It's a loss of control. And what you said, Judy, was really interesting about that mirror that you mentioned using in the classroom. It's out of control. Kids are shouting at it. You don't know me. You don't know this.
Well, they're a little frustrated because they're like, there's like this bot type person talking to you and giving you feedback that's kind of more specific than you've possibly heard before, or telling you to do something that you really don't feel comfortable doing. And it's like, it's almost like kids are going to have to develop like bot etiquette.
Something, this reminds me of when you make a phone call and you have that voice on the other end. Press 1 for this, press 2
so
for
annoying.
that,
It's annoying when that happens.
And I remember my mother-in-law was trying to get through to someone, and she started to have a fit with this message on the other end. And she's like yelling at this. It's not a person, but completely just lost it because it's so frustrating.
Well, you expect it to probably be like a human, and it's not a human, right?
Yeah, well, but you know, work is being done, and the AI world and field is meeting the learning design field, and this is where it's really fascinating. And the learning design field has been really moving towards making any learning experience as humanly attractive as possible, getting away from that robot voice of giving me the options on the phone call to a very adaptive, very realistic, very grounded in learning theory. So it's providing what you need at the right time for the right time. And connecting that with the power and the ability of the artificial intelligence function, that's the direction that it's heading in, and things will be extremely different than the old phone with the 1, 2, 3, for sure.
This doesn't sound like it's going to be banned. Like the article talked about the possibility of trying to ban this.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like this is going anywhere, and it's really up to us to have to adjust around this new tool. Your thoughts? I mean, that's
I think adjust might be the beginning. It's funny because I spoke to another university teacher of English, and she was asking me, you know, kind of what I'm doing, and I spoke about it, and the reaction was you know, scared. It's like, oh, I don't want to know about this. I just didn't want to know. And then I just said, well, you know, I'll just show you an example of how it could work. And we did something along the lines of just some vocabulary work, just some vocabulary work at the level that the students are working at, and instantaneously got a really good vocabulary bank that could be used for a lesson. And
Wow.
she went from scared to eyes open, and not, you know, not fully trusting, but sort of seeing, okay, so this has got something. So I think adapt, but I think embrace is probably where I would try and position this. And when you embrace something, there's two of you still, hopefully. So it is here. It is here, and embracing it, I think, is in the full sense of the word. You know, allowing an openness to the possibilities of helping learning. And I think one thing that I see in the debate is that we forget the last bit of this, of helping learning. And if you just put helping learning at the end of everything to do with Chat GPT or artificial intelligence, how does it help learning? What is it going to benefit the learner? Then it changes your attitude to it. And it's not something that you kind of just maybe have to think, oh, I'll make sure I fit it into a bit of my lesson plan. It will be, how does it help the whole process that I'm involved in, with regards to helping children make progress with their learning.
So interesting, Geoff, because in New York City schools, teachers were always evaluated on how they incorporate technology. I wonder if one of the changes as we shift forward will be, how are you incorporating Chat G3 or G4 or 5 into your classroom studies? Geoff, do you think that this tool knows the science of reading and could be a game changer for our dyslexic or struggling learners in general, in terms of the reading crisis that we're experiencing in America?
I think that's kind of what I want to do for the rest of my career, to be honest, Judy. I think I want to answer that question and see if there is an answer to that question. As you know that I'm passionate about children reading and getting literacy solved. And if this has the ability to do that, then I'm certainly going to pursue my intellectual time with that. I've already started trying to address that, and it needs real data, real usage by students to see what's happening. But I do, Judy, I do have a real positive feel for this. I promised myself that I would mention to you a guest a person that I hope you will have as a guest. But in the last 2 years, I've learned a lot about technology and learning technology from Donald Clark, and he wrote a book that is essential for me in terms of my study, Artificial Intelligence for Learning. And he really stresses this, it's the for learning. And just an introduction, he mentions that since 2014, there has been the Global Learning X Prize, and $15 million is offered for any sort of software that is going to help teach young children to read, write, and do basic mathematics. So there's a prize for this. And 2 winners of that is in 2019. One from South Korea and one based in the UK and the US, they kind of combine, have produced software that has got artificial intelligence embedded within it based on the science of reading and structured literacy. And they're doing it. And that is fascinating in terms of people are working on this. People are working on this problem. And
so how is that going to be different from, we have software out now that's not new. We've been using the computer for assistance. There are programs out there that are computer based where we could put a kid on a computer program, at least as Judy mentioned, like as a supplement. Maybe it doesn't replace the teacher, but as a supplement. How is this different from something like that?
Yeah, and it's in the adaptivity of it. So yes, I know the software programs, that I don't know the specific ones you're talking about, but of course I know of
like
them.
Nessie, Nessie exactly. Is out there. Some of the other programs I know, like for instance, Sounds Right has an app. And generally we view these as supplements, not as the primary source. So I'm just saying, how would that be different from something like this?
Really, it's the computational power that would be put into a software application using the large language model, Chat GPT, that would really significantly change the adaptability of the response, of the text, of the type of learning that the student might need. So where they need work on phonemic awareness, or where they need work on syntax, where they need work on decoding, it would be far more powerful than you've got in a kind of a standalone software package at the moment. That's the future, and that's the that's the development that I'm interested in looking into.
So it's more personalized. Is that what you're saying? It's more personalized or individualized, where if you ask the right types of questions, it could really be purposeful in what you're giving the child.
But Faith, can I jump in? How is a kid going to know the right questions to ask? Like,
no, I meant the teacher. No, I meant like
the teacher's going to have to ask the
or
right
a parent or some adult guiding this. I didn't make that clear. I didn't mean that the child would.
No, I was actually picturing a kid. What if they're sitting and doing some kind of thing and they're having trouble with phonemic awareness?
But how would they know that?
Right.
I mean, I think it's the teacher who would have to know that child's difficulties in
So she
order.
would have, okay, so that.
But I
he
think
or
this
she
is,
would have
I think this is
checked
where,
prior.
Yeah,
yeah, I think
so.
this is where the next developments are are coming, because when you've got a child reading, they are obviously unable to talk about the problems they're having with that reading and can't ask it a prompt to help them with it. They are doing the process. But the adaptability will come from what they're not doing right. So if they can't do something,
Or their responses, okay.
their response will be allow for an adaptation that will get them to a response that they are able to respond to.
Geoff, though, like, who are the people that are behind like this new creation, and will it visually be, I know you mentioned it'll have YouTube videos, but like kids can get bored very quickly. How would it, first question is, who's creating it? How are we going to ensure that it keeps children's interest? Because if kids can lose interest very quickly, they either like things or don't like things, or enjoy things or don't enjoy things. Like, where did this all of a sudden come from, that like this is all everybody's talking about? My two sons are involved in technology, and they're like, wow, this is crazy, Mom. Like, I could literally ask this thing a question and it could solve my computer programming stuff. Or, what about kids that have to write a college essay? I paid somebody to help one of my kids write it, but poof, you could probably get the best college essay on the market. So like, where did this come from? And I do see some issues of concerns, right? It could spew wonderful information by the touch of a button, or by saying, hey, write me an essay about this. And then take your magic wand, and then it says something wonderful, probably better than a lot of kids can articulate and write in written format.
Well, asking about where it came from, it takes you back to what this is. And so there is not going to be there's not going to be a sort of a separate product that does reading, a separate product does maths. This does it. This large language model, artificial intelligence, does whatever you ask it to do. So the development is working on interfaces that are appropriate in classrooms for students at different ages. But basically, the technology is there. There's not someone else who's going to take that and do something else with it. With regards to the thing that you said about sort of creating the college essay, and
yeah, that's a big one in America. That's a big one. Sometimes that's the deciding factor if you're getting into a certain school or not.
That might change now. Who knows?
So I think this is the other educational avenue that will have to be explored about assessment and validity of a student piece of work. And I think the traditional college essay is going to be something that may have to change in terms of whether that is an appropriate route into getting into the next stage of education.
That stinks, though, in my perspective, because that was like, for one of my sons, that's his greatest strength. And I think, during COVID, kids went through a hard time, and a lot of kids were depending on that essay component to get into the right school. My kid got into film and screenwriting school because he was able to exhibit one of his top strengths. But if that changes, that's terrifying.
But I think, Judy, I don't know if it was your child who this happened to, but you did say that you've spent money on a tutor to help with the college essay.
With one child I did, with one child I did.
Yeah, so it kind of brings us back to what we talked about at the beginning, didn't it? We talked about whether this is going to be a technology that helps a lot of people who maybe haven't had some of that chance to get extra support because of financial considerations. So on the positive side, you've got something that's pretty much free, helping someone to create something that could get them into college. So there's that to consider. But I think colleges are really going to have to consider the traditional essay, and it's something that I think is causing a lot of discussion at university level in terms of what they're getting from students in this new age.
Geoff, my thought is that teachers aren't going to be able to send kids home to do this work. I would imagine that most of the writing is going to have to be where they could observe that the child is doing it themselves. I don't think homework is going to look the same either. I would imagine that that's going to be something that schools are going to have to rethink too. Because if, students could just type something in and they'll spit out an answer, how will you really know? And is it really the teacher's responsibility to police this? I mean,
that's right. That's right. Well, some roads are leading to interesting areas, because I think, Faith, I'm a big advocate for handwriting and for using a pen and writing. I think it's vital. In fact, we know that the evidence is that a young child needs to make those marks on the paper. They need to write. And I think we're all concerned. I see it daily at the lack of that penmanship at higher levels into school and into university. And it's very worrying, isn't it? Because if the decision is, okay, we're going to have to get older students to sit there and write the essay so that we know that it's from them, do we really think that is going to produce some really powerful work at this stage after these years of disruption where there's been less and less handwriting? I think that it's a scary thought. So what does that mean? Does that mean we go down the road of forget it, writing's over, it's the end of writing? Not in my book, and not in the book not in the book that I hope to write. I think the real power of this is that a lot of this stuff is going to be pushed to AI to do, that is the less important stuff, doing research, finding things out, putting things together, organizing things, selecting, keeping it in your personal area, to allow that individual, that student, to then enter the learning space, the learning arena, the classroom, and really engage themselves with their thoughts. And I think that the vision is that you'll return to classrooms where students have got pens and pencils in their hand, that they've got paints in their hand, in their paintbrushes in their hand, that they're doing these physical actions on paper that are essential. And actually, I think kids are not stupid. They'll have enough of it. They have enough of their mobiles, enough of their tablets, enough of the screens, enough of being plugged into the machine. And you know it as well as I know it. When a child or a young adult or even a college student spends some quality time with themselves and some paper, magic happens.
Yes.
And I think that's what teachers, especially in the subjects where they're doing that, that's what teachers went into it for. That's what teachers love about teaching.
So it's
and the creation of what students can do.
It's interesting. What I'm hearing Geoff say, Judy, is it's almost like as we advance, we're going back to basics with how kids, what we knew was important years ago in terms of what kids need, that hands-on, fine motor, creating, experimenting, building, those types of things that can't be done with a computer program. I think, but yet we are going to use it wisely, I hope, in some other way. I guess that's the learning that's going to take place in the next few years. I would normally say 10 years, but
Yeah.
it seems like it's
Yeah.
happening a lot faster.
Before I forget my thought, I just think what you need is really good leadership. You need leaders with a vision of what is important and can clearly see that technology in its current guise is phenomenally powerful and can be used to help, but really they need to know the science of learning, and they need to know the things that are special and precious in the classroom, and the leadership need to ensure that balance is right between technology and learning and enjoyment. And that's where you will get some positive movement forward.
Yes.
For sure.
Interesting. Judy, any thoughts that you want to add? Any questions?
So I definitely want to see if Geoff could maybe share his screen and show us how to use this tool. So that's one thought. The other thought is, I think exactly what Geoff was saying and you were saying, Faith, that really thinking of when do I use this tool? What is its purpose? Some teachers, unfortunately, right now, there's some kids that are having trouble writing and they're using text to speech, right? The kid is just talking instead of writing it. Yes, that's wonderful sometimes, but like you both said, the kids have to experience holding that pen, writing a sentence, feeling the motion of making those letters, feeling the connection of, if you're learning about certain sounds and putting them down on paper. I think there is that balance. But, like everything else, there are positives. Like in the article, I think it mentioned, multiple choice tests. If a teacher has to write a multiple choice test, it's going to give different potential responses. That could be helpful. And then for a kid, I love the writing revolution. I've spoken about that many times. And, the thing that's missing for many kids is writing an outline. And it seems like, this tool can be helpful in that planning stage of writing those key details, or maybe even speaking those key details and then going to the writing. So I think that, this could be a beautiful tool, but like you both said, we have to just think, is it helping or hurting? But yeah, and Faith, you mentioned that homework piece. The article said this might kill homework. And of course, we don't want it to kill homework, but I think
Some
it's
people
just,
would.
I have mixed feelings about homework, but
yeah, me too.
But at the end of the day, this is not going away, right? It's the Jetsons is coming to life. We've had vacuum cleaners called Roomba that clean your floor. And now we have educational tools that are obviously not going away. So we have to, just start thinking about its purpose, how to use it, and is it helping or not? Like I said, I love the tool when it said that Faith and I are like the best podcasters in history. So, Geoff, if you could show us a little bit about what the tool does and so forth, that would be a great way to
Absolutely. So
while Geoff is doing that, getting ready, there are people on a podcast. So, Geoff, when you're showing this for YouTube, there are people on the podcast who won't see this. So if you could just really be very detailed
Good point.
about explaining this so that people who are just listening would understand what's going on.
Sure.
Faith, I really love that about you because you're always so explicit and structured.
Explicit instruction, good stuff. In preparing for this, I thought I would give it a prompt, and I told you about the AI educator. The thing he talks about is prep the machine, prompt it, give it a role, give it an explicit instruction, and give it clear parameters. So if you can remember that PREP acronym, it really helps with producing some interesting things. So I gave it a prompt. I would like you to produce a sequence of activities to learn the following sounds. S, S, A, as in apple, I, as in tin, T, P, N, K, as in cat, K, as in kick, K, and then CK, K, and then E, as in egg, H, and R. So that is from the first unit from Debbie Hepplewhite's program. So all phonics programs have got that. Produce it as a sequenced lesson plan over 12 hours of learning. Include sound practice, blending, reading practice, and writing sentences. That was my prompt. And I think you can see the screen. And so it chats, as I said, it's dialogue, and it's talking with you. Sure, I can provide a sequence of activities to learn the sounds you have listed. Please note that the specific activities and the duration of each activity may vary depending on the learner's age level and learning style.
So I'm going to stop you a
Big
second.
question mark.
I'm going to stop you. So listeners, if you are on a podcast version of this show now, it really does say that. It spits it out saying, sure, I can provide a sequence of
Wait, so you could press the button and make it speak though and say those prompts, correct?
It could, but this is a saved chat.
Got you.
But if I was doing that as a live chat, and I'll try and do a live one with you in a second, I can just put on the audio and it will speak it. So there we go. We've got hour 1, introduction to sounds, practice, teach learners the phonetic alphabet, hour 2 to 3, learning S, A, and I sounds, and hour 4 to 5, hour 6 to 7, 8 to 9, 10 to 11, review and practice at the end.
If you have a child, let's say in a unit, a phonics unit, I don't care what the phonics program is, but let's say the child is in a phonics unit, and you know you have 3 kids struggling in a certain part of that sequence. You could put something into Chat GPT. And I'm like so confused. And just have it spit out some activities to help a child practice in this area.
Exactly.
Wow, it looks like an Orton Gillingham lesson a little bit.
This is what I'm saying. You could have, like I said before, decodable text that might not be a book, but a decodable passage using just those types of things. Exactly. Or sentences that use a certain part of the unit sequence. Like, let me have 10 sentences that include these following sounds with adjacent consonants, blah, 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 something of that.
Faith, can I ask you a question, or Geoff? So Faith just mentioned a sentence. What if it told a kid to write a sentence and the kid held up their dry erase board? Would it be able to respond and give feedback, or does it have to be that the kid would have to type the sentence?
Yeah, it can't. This can't do that.
Not yet?
But it's coming, because there'll be the ability to take a picture of the whiteboard, and the picture will be yeah. Amazing. So then I followed up. I followed it up with a different prompt. I'm a parent. I want to help my child learn the initial sounds. What should I do at home every day for 15 minutes to help my child? Day 1, introduction to sounds. Day 4, learning those sounds.
Wow,
learning
giving the step-by-step. It's incredible.
Step by step. And then it said rhyming. Introduce rhyming words to your child that start with it. And I thought, I'm a parent. I don't know what to do there. Can you help me with some rhyming words for these sounds to use at home? And there we go. And I thought it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I just want to say, and it says, for those people who can't see, something like pig, dig, fig, wig, big, twig, cap,
Yeah.
gap, lap, map, nap, tap.
Wow, the parents saving money from having to buy a workbook,
Yeah,
saving time by not having to think of all those words.
that's right. Now, what happens is that we are expert tutors and teachers. We're always going to find a flaw. Someone's going to say, look at the sound and it's got cuss. I don't want my child to know the word cuss. Why is cuss in there? This is ridiculous. I'm never going to use this again in my life. Then that's where we have to be intelligent. We're the intelligent ones, not the machine.
Right.
The
I do
machine
not-
be intelligent enough, Jeff, not to put on anything inappropriate or curse words or anything that doesn't look right.
Yeah, you can prompt that. You can say, please make sure not to include any
Mhm.
age inappropriate words, such as, and if you put such as, then they will be knocked out of the response. I don't understand blending. I want to help my child blend sounds together to make a longer word. This is a big problem for parents.
Mhm.
What can I do? And then a whole kind of sequence about what to do there. So
That's amazing.
there we go.
That's
So
really
now
amazing.
we're going to try live.
What you want to say, Judy?
So let me just, because the silly Zoom is
For teacher.
I don't hear you. You went
okay.
out.
Your chance, Judy.
Sorry, my friends. So it sounds like it could be a teaching tool for a parent, but also maybe a teacher hasn't been in the field for 25 years. And
Absolutely.
the science of reading is new for them. Now they're learning it at
Teacher
it's
training.
accelerating the learning.
New
Wow.
entrant. Yep.
What does GPT stand for, Jeff?
Oh, you didn't need to ask me that question. It's a big, complicated answer. It's a generative
Is it really?
processing transformer.
Forget it.
And it's,
Oh, no.
that's the computing side. That's the,
Okay.
the
That's too
GPT side.
much.
But it's a great question, because the thing that I feel like I concentrate on is it is an ingenious ploy or marketing that they called it Chat GPT. If they called it GPT, who would have been interested in that? Who knows what that means? GPT. Chat GPT was a moment of genius, a bit like when Steve Jobs sort of was showing the first Mac and he said, make sure that the home screen says hello.
Yeah. Yes. Interesting.
And it's making it personalized. So Chat GPT changes the whole thing, brings us back to, the importance of dialogue. As Faith says in one of the most important books in education, If Only I Would Have Known.
Aw, thank you.
She says that she's talking about the training that the teachers had at Great Start School. And all of the teachers at Great Start have been trained in this classroom approach, as well as in dialogic reading. And I think this is dialogic learning and dialogic pedagogy at its essential, and even in the name, if we can try and just see that it's in the name. Really
I was thinking that as I'm watching, that this really is just that. It's really trying to extend language. It's, if you prompt it, it could extend language in a very interesting way. Wow. Wow.
I think the responsibility lies with the educators.
Right. Right. That's the takeaway from this. The responsibility lies in the educator or the adult, whoever is leading this.
That's right. So Judy gets a chance to ask the Chat GPT a question.
Go ahead, Judy. Ask.
Oh my God, let me think of a good question. I've taught for so long, but let me think. Okay, something educational, guys?
Why not? Because it could get a little wild out there if you're asked where to go tonight in Brooklyn.
Oh no, actually, you know what? I don't want to ask something educational. I think in the thread, both of you told me that I could make a really good dance playlist. And of course, 80s music I like too, but 90s. Forget the 70s, Faith. So yeah, I want something
over,
really
Judy. This is over.
No, I want to look. See, Jeff is. Wait, who's doing that? Is that the GPT or Jeff writing that?
Me, it's me writing that.
Okay, good. Oh wow, Geoff is creating a 90s classic dance playlist.
Ready?
Now that's crazy. Is it going to make a playlist for me right
I don't
now?
know. We'll see. I've never done this before.
Faith, I'm going to have a dance party tonight.
Sure. Here's a 90s classic dance playlist.
It's talking.
Oh wow, there's Vogue by Madonna, there's Rhythm is a Dancer, there's Finally by CC Peniston, there's Show Me Love. This is exactly what I wanted. Oh, I'm Too Sexy.
Baby One More Time, Britney Spears.
Would it be able to also play those songs, like if I clicked on them?
Macarena. What is love? Jump around. This is how
This
we
is
do
perfect.
it.
This was my, yes, this is great. Wait, so Geoff, is it advanced enough that if it made this playlist for me, I could actually hear each song, or would I have to look for the songs later by myself?
Come on, the 70s was way better.
Oh, shit.
Let's listen, because I didn't have the sound on. So
That's so
you can-
funny. That is
okay,
really
so
funny.
just have a listen. Hopefully I've got the sound
Give me a
functioning now.
70s dance playlist.
Are you ready?
Sure, here's a 70s dance playlist for you.
Okay, now this is my type of music. Staying Alive, I Will Survive, September, love that.
Stayin' Alive by Bee Gees, I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, September by Earth, Wind and Fire, La Freak by Chic, Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire with the Emotions, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough by Michael Jackson, Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry, Dancing Queen by ABBA, Disco Inferno by The Tramps. Stayin' Alive by Bee Gees, You Should Be Dancing by Bee Gees, That's the Way, I Like It by KC and the Sunshine Band, Shake Your Groove Thing by Peaches and Herb, Funky Town by Lips Inc. Get Down Tonight by KC and the Sunshine Band, Night Fever by Bee Gees, Brick House by Commodores, Boogie Oogie Oogie by A Taste of Honey, Let's Groove by Earth, Wind and Fire, Super Freak by Rick James. Hope you enjoy dancing to these classics.
That is awesome. Honestly, that's the way. I like it.
Faith, this is perfect for me because I'm always too lazy. My son's been telling me to make a playlist for a long time, and it's always on my to-do list, but Chat GPT just made it for me.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So just to show you, prompting, going deeper. So tell me about the background to Dancing Queen by ABBA. So.
Dancing Queen is one of the most iconic songs of the 70s, and is considered by many to be the signature song of ABBA. It was released in 1976 as a single from their fourth studio album Arrival, and quickly became a hit around the world. The song was written by Benny Andersson, Björn Ulvaeus, and Stig Andersson, who was the manager of ABBA. The lyrics were inspired by a young girl who was out dancing.
Unbelievable.
I paused the sound there.
Yeah, no, that's
so there we go. I stopped sharing now.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
That was awesome.
That's unbelievable. So
if you were doing
in a matter of a minute, boom, the matter of a minute.
Boom.
So that really, really makes us have to rethink how we work with kids. Now, you said there was something in the background that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, let's hear.
So, talking about doing the PhD, and it really starts to bring things kind of full circle. So I'm reading The Last Day of Socrates by Plato, which is a dialogue, it's a dialogue. And for me, it's like going back to originally, this was the original teaching, talking was the original teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I think this is the dialogical tool of the 21st century, that if we use it right and we use it responsibly and we use our intelligence, that hopefully we are going to get to dialogic learning again. And it could transform education for all of our children.
Amazing, amazing. Any last thoughts? Judy, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you to Geoff. I am so excited to have you as our first guest from Europe. I thank you tremendously for following our show, The Literacy View, for all your passion. Yeah, it looks like you're doing great things, and I can't wait to stay in touch and see what's next for you. And thank you, because I know right when I hop off of this call, I might make my 80s and 90s dance list and start dancing around. And B, I'm going to talk to my son, who's actually going into web development, more about this tool. And I think the biggest takeaway was, yeah, we're all going to panic a little bit, but there's so many great things that are going to affect us positively. So just embrace it and let's do this.
Yes. Geoff,
Thanks,
any
Judy.
last thoughts?
Well, I think I've had a wonderful time. Thanks. I was a bit nervous at the beginning, and it's really nice to bring the technology and the learning and our love of literacy into the whole conversation. I think that's where I find my passion, for sure. And just to say that I do enjoy following your show, and I think that there are a lot of people out there trying to do things, that are trying to help, trying to change what's being done, how it's being done. But however complicated it gets on social media with back and forth, I know in your hearts you're doing it for completely the right reasons. So just keep going with that, and you'll get more and more people coming along with you for the ride.
Geoff, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you with us. I always love speaking with you. You're just so smart and inquisitive, and just you want to just share that with other people, and you've been a great guest. Thank you so much. And we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Enjoy your dancing.
Everybody. And Judy's going to jump in and tell everybody.
There I go.
Go ahead.
All right, follow us on Facebook, The Literacy View, Real Teachers Letting Loose. Join with your friends, share far and wide. You could also follow Faith at Faith Burkowski on Twitter. And you could also follow me on Twitter at Boxner Judy. And then Faith, mention your personal site, the High Five Literacy. You probably know the words better than me.
I have my website, high5literacy.com, my other website, ifonlybooks.com. Visit there, follow us, like us, and thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.